How's it going, everybody? A bit of a different video today. I wanted to make a video going over the new starter decks that just released 15 to 20, right? All of the new starter decks everyone's pretty hyped about. 8.5 brings a lot to the meta, right? A lot of changes. You know, Blue Dofi, Purple Luffy come into the meta. You know, Uta gets a buff. All these cool decks get buffs. A lot of good support. You know, a lot of exciting decks to try out. But I feel like I needed to just talk about how I feel like everyone should wait to buy these decks, especially if you can't find them in a local game store or a retailer for pretty close to MSRP. And I'll talk about why. They are absolutely ridiculously priced. They are just ridiculously priced right now. And before any scalper says about supply and demand, that is crazy. I will supply you a job application. Okay, people are just going out of the way to buy out all the decks, list them for crazy prices. I've seen up to like $30 for a deck, like $32 for like a Blue Dofi. If you are unfamiliar, the Blue Doflamingo is going to be pretty high meta in 8.5 and in set 9. So I understand that there's a lot of demand for the deck, but $30 for a starter deck that is like 12 bucks MSRP is absolutely crazy. It is insane. I realize though, it is a bit of a tax if somebody wants their meta deck right now. Obviously, the better the deck is and performs, more people are going to want to play it. So you can probably find some of the not so great decks a little bit cheaper. However, even the expensive decks, even the blue deck, I feel like you'll be able to get your hands on it for like under 15 bucks, maybe, especially under 20 over the next coming weeks. And even so, I don't believe there'll be that, you know, if you have a tournament coming up, obviously that's an exception, right? If you have a tournament coming up, you're looking to play Blue Dofi, you need to do what you need to do, right? But for anyone just looking to play at their locals, or you got a tournament in like set 9, something a few months down the line, right? Like, even the PRBO1 pack that comes in the set, you can't use until like November 15th, right? Before like PRBO1 hasn't come out officially. I realize a lot of people are buying these decks because of the one pack that you get. It's still a lot, you know, you can. And even on these examples that are still pretty pricey, right? We see with the red Whitebeard deck, people are selling it for cheaper. Like this is $15.99, 16 bucks for one deck. Kind of crazy because for the most part, you have to buy 2 copies because the SRs and the good cards you need are only 2 copies in a starter deck. So you need 2 starter decks to get your 4 copies. You have this that is 16 bucks. That is cheaper because it stated does not come with the PRBO1 pack. So people are buying it, ripping the pack, and then reselling the deck. I think if you're going to be buying a deck that doesn't come with the pack, it should be even cheaper than that. But I get it, you know, people are trying to make their money, right? You know, crazy that we're buying up starter decks to do so, but you know, it is what it is. I just want to say that this is going to calm down like most things do. You can already see, like, the graph is the graph, but you can already see the fact that like some of these prices are absolutely insane. Like, you have the couple that are a little bit cheaper down here, but even for the Whitebeard deck, this isn't even the Blue Doflamingo deck. And I know I'm showing TCG player and you're saying, well, what about local game stores? What about other online retailers? You can find these decks for retail at like Walmart, Target. I found ones at Barnes & Noble. There are other retailers too, probably. And of course, local game stores. But I've seen even local game stores list these decks for 20, 25, 30. It's kind of insane. Some game stores just go off TCG prices. So maybe if you're a regular at your LGS, talk to whoever runs it, be like, yo, again, do something, because the TCG prices are very inflated right now. They're going to come down. This is just the first week. You know, we got like the official release, I think it's supposed to be Saturday, right? Or maybe Friday, I don't know, but people have been finding them in Walmart since like Wednesday, right? Because some vendors restock early. But I wanted to talk about like, oh, what decks you can use this support in to kind of build. Like, I was excited about the Whitebeard deck for Red Blue Marco. I think there's a lot of great decks that use cards from this, right? But at these prices, I think you should just wait. Of course, I guess like of the rare, like extreme example of you have a tournament coming up very soon where these cards will be legal in. I'm not even really sure what the official like legal date for these cards to be used in, right? I don't even know if it's this weekend, but if you can use these cards and you need it very soon, right, you might expect to play a little bit higher price for the convenience of getting it early, right? If it's sold out and you couldn't get any pre-orders. But I'm telling you, you should probably just wait for all these prices. I mean, look, we've got even the green Uta deck. This is one of the decks that not many people were excited about. Like, I wanted some cards for Bonnie. I wanted to try Uta with the new support. Of course, we've got a lot more reasonable prices, like 15 bucks. No pack. It's still insane that you're selling it above MSRP with no pack. So it's less of a product and you're selling it for more than it is, you know, like that's kind of crazy. But I'm saying that you'll probably be able to find these decks in store a lot easier or just a lot more available. Even so, if people are going to be just buying out the decks like crazy and just getting the packs, see in your area, right? If anybody from your game store or anyone you know is doing that and just can get the deck for even cheaper. I've had people offer to sell the deck for 10 bucks, a little bit less, because they just want the pack and they're just giving it to people, you know. These types of things are just a little bit crazy, always on release. So I just want to emphasize this because I've been telling people that these starter decks are a great point to get into the game. Set 8, little bit stale. I get that, but these starter decks offer a lot of variety. A lot of decks get bumped up to like 1.5 tier, you know, a lot of new decks coming into the meta. But at these prices, it is absolutely insane for a starter deck, while not even selling the pack with it, right? And then the blue Dofi, of course, right? $30, you know, you got 20 bucks with no pack. Again, I realize it's top meta deck. I realize that people are, if you're buying it at this price, right? Like most recent sale being 30 is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Like if you have something coming up and you need the deck, right? Of course, but for the most part, I feel like everyone can agree we should just be not agreeing to pay these prices. These are absolutely insane. And of course, obviously, other than TCG player, you might be able to find these decks for cheaper. And that's also something I'm trying to emphasize. But at the Luffy deck, probably the second best starter in the set, right? We're seeing about 20 bucks, no pack, no pack, no pack. Like so many people are just selling the deck. No pack, but still above MSRP. And I'm saying they're like Walmart and these big retailers will probably be restocking this each week, right? You got some places are doing limits, you know, obviously Walmart and like Target, right? They don't do limits. They don't really have too much enforced right now, right? But like I went to Barnes and Noble. They had like a 2 limit per person, right? Some of my local game stores were even hosting starter deck tournaments, which are really fun. You know, I encourage you to look through your local game stores in your area. If any of them are doing starter deck tournaments, could be a great way to get some of these if you need them. Any of your LGS might be selling them for less than this, right? These are just kind of crazy prices. Like even Smoker, right? Even Smoker, which a lot of these decks aren't meta, you know. Smoker out the box, Uta out the box, like they're pretty good decks. They got a lot of support with this, and you know, but they're not top of the meta. Like I understand the hype about Blue Dofi, but these are just kind of insane prices. It's just the first weekend, right? It's just the first weekend. Looking at Katakuri, like the yellow deck, like this deck in itself doesn't really have that many great cards in it that you would even need for other decks, right? I believe in the Katakuri deck, you really only have the new blocker and the new like 6 cost Big Mom that I don't even know if that's that good, right? But you got some more reasonable prices as you would expect for the lower tier decks, right? That not many people want, right? Like pretty reasonable around MSRP, but you don't get the pack, you know, just deck, no premium booster pack, right? There's just a lot of hype behind these decks. There's a lot of hype behind the PRBO1 packs. So it's obvious, like it's to be expected that this would happen. You know, I'm not like in shock. Like how could people charge this much for something? It just came out. There's a lot of hype behind it. We've got the added bonus that I've been seeing a lot of good pulls from people with their starter deck. I just came from a tournament, a starter deck tournament, where somebody pulled the Manga Nami out of it, right? That's insane. Of course, there's a lot of hype. People want to try their luck, right? But if you're just looking to play some of these decks or use cards from it in other decks, these are prices that you shouldn't be willing to pay. It's kind of insane, right? I think even the blue Doflamingo will go down. Given a week, 2 weeks, if you're just looking to play this deck at a locals, I'm not telling anyone to do with their money, but I would not pay $60 for 2 starter decks. Because again, if you're buying one of these, or even $40 for 2 starter decks, right? If you're buying these, you need 2 copies to complete the 4 set, right? You know, I don't know how much cheaper it is just to buy the good singles out of it, because then, you know, people are buying these decks for those good singles, right? So they're probably going to be expensive on their own, right? But again, these prices will go down. I'm saying they will be restocked in retailers. This is not something that like is just hit this first weekend, is going to go away. You know, I feel like there's going to be like a lot of FOMO, a lot of people that just want this new stuff now. But I managed to get a lot of my decks without pre-ordering and without raiding Walmarts, without like trampling people buying out a whole store. I just looked around. Again, I was very lucky, and I realized that, to have a tournament at one of my local game stores that had decks for us. But even if you're not so lucky with all of that, give it a week. I think we'll have a little bit better prices with some of these. I think we'll see a lot more of this popping up. A lot of people just ripping the deck to get the pack, to get their chance at something crazy. I've seen people posting videos about God packs. Still don't know like what kind of like ratios or odds are for this type of stuff, especially coming out of like a single pack for like a starter deck, right? Like, I don't know how that's all mapped out or how random it is, but I think we'll see a lot of people just selling the deck. And of course, checking other marketplaces other than TCG Player, you might be able to find some better deals, right? I just wanted to use this because I didn't want to post any store, any like game stores. Like, I've seen some crazy sales on some game stores, some local game stores selling it for like 25 to 30 bucks for these decks. Even the non-meta ones, you know, like yellow or green, right? Like that not a lot of people want, selling them for crazy prices. I didn't want to put any of them on blast. I just wanted to go here to give you, you know, this is what people are listing this for. Wait if you don't want to just overspend. If you don't care about that and you just want this stuff now, yeah, you're probably going to overspend. A lot of this stuff is going to go down in price. And even so, I don't know how many tournaments are coming up and when these cards from the starter decks are going to be legal, per se. I don't even know if this release weekend there's going to be any tournaments where they're legal, right? And like I said, come like Wednesday or Thursday next week, I think they're going to be a lot cheaper, especially when second waves are coming out in these big retailers, let alone game stores, or even more people doing this, right? Even more people just buying the deck to rip the pack, right? You will see more just people selling the deck. Like we saw that with the old 3 captains decks, or no, the 3 brothers decks, right? Everyone was ripping them to get the alt art leaders, right? With like black, yellow Luffy, blue, yellow Ace, and red, yellow Sabo, right? Those, if you just wanted the deck, there were a lot of people selling the deck for cheaper because they just wanted those alt cards to try and get one of the leaders. You know, there was a lot of value in some of the leaders right on release. So people were buying up decks just to try and rip those packs and have a chance of being lucky, right? But I think the same thing is going to happen here. And a lot of people might say, well, that's very obvious. You know, things are going to go down immediately after release. But again, for anyone who might be thinking about getting into the game, newer to the game, if you were debating buying one of these decks, I'm saying like try and find a good deal, or maybe just wait like a week, not even a crazy amount of time, just like a week, right? You might be able to get lucky and find some in store, or you might just see more of this where the price is going down as more people are just trying to sell the deck and not the pack. And of course, it's just one pack, right? It's nothing crazy. Yes, you can get insanely lucky, but if you're just looking to play the decks, I think we'll continue to see better deals. And yeah, I don't know. That's just my rant. I just thought it was crazy the amount of prices I was seeing above $25 from different stores online, different places, people just scalping this so much. It was just insane. There was a lot of hype behind these starter decks. Obviously, we knew how much they were going to impact the meta for a while. So it's understandable, right, that there was a lot of hype. But at the same time, I wouldn't buy into the hype because I think prices are just going to go down and people will be able to get the product that they need, you know, if you just give it time and be patient. But that's it. I wanted to make a less ranty video on these decks to talk about, you know, what leaders you can play, what decks can be fun with some of the support from this, and maybe I'll make another video like that. But that's just what I wanted to go over right now. Again, we've only had these decks available for like a couple of days to buy, so don't go crazy spending $50 for 2 starter decks. That is absolutely insane, especially when they are like I think 11 or 12 bucks MSRP, what they're supposed to be like sold at retail. Like, my realistic advice though is just try and find people in the community, in your local community, right, that might have been able to pick up more decks, might just be looking to open decks for the packs, right? Try and make deals like that, right? Try and join any Discord for your state or your just local area, right? See if anyone's trading decks, see if anyone's found places that have decks where they're selling with limits or at a good price, right? There are still ways to get this stuff now for not crazy exorbitant prices. And even so, there's probably places online. I think I've seen people selling the decks with no packs for like 15 bucks. It's not crazy. It's not as insane as like 20 bucks still with no pack, right? But just be on the lookout and just be wary when you're buying right now. There's a lot of hype, and with that, there's a lot of inflated prices. Things are going to go down, and if you can find stuff for a good price that you think is reasonable, of course, get it, right? But that's just all I wanted to point out and kind of talk about. We'll have more normal videos going forward, but either way, I hope y'all are having fun with the new decks if you've been able to get them. And let me know what deck you're looking forward to playing. I want to play some Marco, you know, a lot. I honestly just Uta in general, I think will be really fun, the green Uta deck. But either way, that's it. Rant over. Hope to see y'all in our next video. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.